Welcome to the Say It Different podcast. My name is Tyler, and I'm joined every episode with my great friend, Justin Dailey. Our hope is to have real, authentic, and helpful conversations about the issues that we're all facing and talking about. Our perspective, it's going to say it different. Well, season 3 is back. We are back. School's back. Pumpkin spice lattes are back. College football is back.
That's a big one.
Say It Different is back.
Say It Different's back.
All is right with the world. You feel good about season 3?
I feel great. I don't like pumpkin spice lattes.
Well,
but
some
I
people
do
out
like
there
college
do.
football.
Yeah. No, we got to cover all the bases here.
Yeah, we
diverse.
have a wide range of viewership.
Yep, we do.
Listenership, is that a word? Listenership.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you about something here. Okay. The other day, I was in a team meeting, and a conversation opened up about this concept or term, dad rock. Are you familiar with dad rock?
Dad rock?
Dad rock,
No.
like music. It's a music genre, dad rock.
No.
Basically, I've always defined dad rock as classic rock. It's the music you listen to when you're out cutting the grass and you're just looking to get crap done around the house. That is.
It was 99.5 when I was growing up, classic rock.
Yeah. AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones,
Metallica.
So this is where it's going to take a turn that you're not going to like.
Okay.
What is classified as dad rock in 2024 is exactly what you just said. The music we would say was great growing up. It was rock and roll. Now it is Metallica. It's Nickelback. It's Creed. It's basically any song. That's what I was about to say.
Creed.
Any song that makes you do that is dad rock. That's what it is.
Well, big fan of Creed.
Yeah. Any song whose lead singer just kind of sounds like this is now dad rock. That's
why do I love Creed and hate Nickelback?
I think everybody hates Nickelback because they've been branded on social media to be. Yeah, you just went to a deep place there. I think they're good guys, but
they probably
nobody
are.
likes them.
I don't know. Yeah, to be very clear, I don't hate them as people. Yeah, just what they represent.
If you were to listen to Photograph right now, you would know every word to that song, but you would still hate it.
Well, yeah, Photograph's like kind of maybe the only good one.
Okay, we're warming up to Nickelback now. It's because you're a dad and it's dad rock. That's what
it does kind of sound like they all have something like stuck in their throat a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
It's very similar.
It was fun for two things. One was every time we played a song, every guy over the age of 30 threw their head back and belted out the lyrics 5 seconds into every song.
Yep.
What wasn't so fun was acknowledging that the music I grew up listening to is in fact now old.
It was 20 years old.
Yeah. No, it's a tough dose of reality. It's a tough dose of reality. Well, that has nothing to do with the podcast.
Oh, good. I'm glad you spent all of our in between seasons preparing for our first episode.
Yeah.
Good.
No, we've.
I was really looking forward to how we were transitioning from dad rock into whatever.
Really been in the lab, doing some deep research here. Yeah. I do want to start off with a little bit of a bang, so to speak. Maybe some would say I want to riff. There's a guitar reference for the rock and roll. We're going to riff a little bit. Some tasty licks. Then we'll stop on the music.
Yeah, I think you're probably derailing.
I think one of the hearts of our podcast is to have conversations that maybe are stepping into some space that people would say is controversial or hot button topics. I think I always feel responsibility if we open up any of these hot button topics here to kind of preface it with saying, let's do our best, you and me and listeners, to just kind of like not be led by our emotions as we have these conversations. I think that's the thing that I have a big hard time with society in general right now is all of these issues that are important issues to talk about have been categorized as political. So that you just dismiss it before you even listen and have an actual conversation.
For sure.
So what I wanted to talk through here is we're a couple months out from a voting season here in our church or in our country. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at this as somebody who's going to participate with that process. And I need some personal voting filters. Yeah. And so I put a list of a couple of voting filters that I'm using to guide my own decisions, my own conversations. If my kids are asking questions, I mean, they're old enough now to start asking questions about it. They're not old enough to vote, but they're certainly old enough to ask me about clarifying questions. So I want to be able to kind of be ready for all of that stuff. So I'm going to throw these voting filters out there.
Okay.
You feel free to correct them. Okay. Feel free to disagree with them. Feel free to challenge me, or feel free to agree with them. Okay. And so that's all I want to do. Just have a little editing process here, peer editing process with you and just a couple of our friends.
Just telling people who to vote for in 2024.
Yeah, I'm not going to do any of that. Not going to do any of that. But these are Tyler's 2024 voting filters.
Okay, great.
All right. So here's number one. I, as a Christian, have a duty to be part of the solution and not the problem.
Yes. I don't think that you can complain about the state of our country if you don't participate in one of the most foundational freedoms that we have, which is to vote. So I don't think you could say we should do this, or we should, in anything, in business or in politics or in voting, in participating in the betterment of our country. I don't think you can have an opinion if you're not trying to be a part of the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking at with that is who we vote for does determine and shape things. They do. And
for sure. I would say what a lot of people miss, though, is the closer you get to home, probably the more important your vote is. So what I mean by that is we should not just be informed and a part of national elections. On the voting docket this year will be state officials, which actually impact us, our everyday life, more than the federal government. And then even local, from commissioners to school boards to the curriculum that our students are learning. So I would say if you actually want to see real change, I think it happens quicker at the local and then state and then federal level. I think we should participate in all of it, but we get all wrapped up in just the presidential election when all of it matters to our quality of life and to our freedoms and to probably the future of America.
Yeah, and in 2024, I think it's probably fair to say there's several people that can look back at past elections and be battling thoughts of, man, it's corrupt, it's a mess, it's not, my vote doesn't even matter. And that's what I think I'm combating even within myself. I can understand how you maybe feel that way.
For sure.
But not voting is being part of the problem, not the solution. So I feel like all has to come back to, I have a duty to be part of the solution.
I think every American has a duty to be a part of the solution. Yeah. If hundreds of thousands of men and women have given their life for our freedom, and one of the basic foundational principles of freedom is the democracy, the right to have an opinion and express that opinion through a vote,
right?
Then I think that's a bare minimum requirement of an American.
Yeah. So number one, I have a duty to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Yes, and if you're not, then quit complaining about the problem because you're not doing anything to fix it.
Okay, yeah, we can add that. Yeah. This is why it's an edit process. Yeah. I'll add that little piece. I like that. That's good.
If you don't want to be a part of the solution, shut up and sit down.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Great. Number two, look at the whole candidate. Mm-hmm. Let me kind of explain what I'm thinking with that. Everyone says something dumb at some point. We've been on this podcast for about 5 minutes and have already said lots of dumb things.
Yeah.
I think that social media clips and the gotcha society that we live in can make anyone look like a villain in a second,
For sure.
In a second. So we have to look at the whole candidate. What have they done throughout their life, throughout their career? The biblical word there would be, what's the fruit that they've produced in a whole picture kind of standpoint?
Yeah, I would say look less at what the candidates have said and look more at what they've done. Because we're in such a propaganda society. We're in such a political speech writing society. So stuff's taken out of context. If you're against them, you take everything out of context and cut and paste. And they said this when they didn't really say that. And then everything good that's said is usually written by somebody else, by some marketing firm or PR firm. So I would say look at their record. Their voting record, their history, their past, what they've produced, because what they're saying and what they've done oftentimes are different. It's crazy how platforms change just based off of political surveys. Yep. So I say I would look back at how the candidate has lived their life, how their kids view them, how their former employees view them, and what have they stood for? What platforms have they stood for in the past? What I would say is we're in a time in America where I think the policy that the candidate stands for is way more important than the actual candidate. because candidates they're all flawed. If we were to be
Right.
really honest today and really talk about just the two presidential candidates, like they are flawed humans just like we are. And so we could go through a laundry list of things we disagree with their character, with their decisions. That's why I make decisions when it comes to my voting based off of policy, not a person.
Right. Exactly. I think there's a level of this from why I'm putting this as a filter for me. It's a reminder I have to also, part of understanding who the whole candidate is to do my own research, my own work, not just listen to what social media is throwing out there, not to just listen to what cable news is throwing out there, or podcasts or whatever. Like all that stuff is helpful, sure. But I have to do some extra work to really kind of see.
Well, here's the thing. One person, one candidate is not going to change the direction of our country. It's just not. The personality in the person's not. Their policy is.
Right.
Going to affect the economy, foreign policy, taxes, wages, cost of goods. Like the person, whether you like them or not, doesn't really matter when it comes to the day-to-day life of every American. It's what policies they put in place that's going to affect us. And so, I think it's more research and less personality driven maybe than ever.
Yeah. All right. Number 2 is look at the whole candidate. Number 3, vote as a citizen of heaven. What I mean by that is I'm a Christian above being an American, and I love my country. I love what it represents and what it's all about, but I'm a citizen of heaven. I'm a citizen and a follower of Jesus, King Jesus, above any president or presidential candidate. And my primary goal with any vote is to build God's kingdom.
Yep.
So what I would throw out there, and again, I want you to kind of speak to this, is I'm going to look at the candidate that's going to help most advance the gospel, protect the church, protect life, and protect the biblical values that a lot of our nation was founded on.
Yep.
And so that's what I'm talking about when we're voting as a citizen of heaven.
Yes. I think one of the most profound things that you said is we need to make sure we don't get our patriotism above our kingdom first mindset. Like we are a Christian first and an American second. That's a great filter. And that's why I would go back to policy and morality and biblical values when we're looking at candidate. Jesus is not on the ballot.
Right.
So character is going to be flawed. And one side or the other is going to rip apart the character flaws of the other side. So again, we cannot look at personalities, because if we did that, then everybody on the ballot this year is disqualified.
Right.
They've all disqualified themselves with past decisions. They said one thing, they voted a different way, they treated somebody poorly, they had a bad interview. That's why we got to look as Christians as what do they stand for? Like, what do they stand for when it comes to biblical issues, morality issues, family issues, gender issues, life issues? And it's just not complicated for me to then find where do they stand. And if they're directly opposed to God's standard, then I don't know how, as a citizen of heaven, that I can vote for somebody that's opposed to the very things that the Bible clearly articulates: to protect the innocent, to live in a way that God requires. So for me, the more we talk about it, it just gets less and less complicated, because we judge the foundation of the principle or the policy or the platform people are running on more than the person.
It's going back to what we were talking about before we started this whole filter conversation. Is we're in a society that's so feelings and emotionally led that we say, I just don't like that person, or I just don't like their running mate. Or
we're not talking about school president, class president.
Right. It's not a popularity contest.
But it is. Like, what's ridiculous now is, like, you watch on TV, it looks like their pep rally or, a popularity contest of how much free stuff can I give away so that you vote for me, when I really can't do it. And if I do it, you're going to have to pay for it. Yeah. So it's insanity. It's also insanity that this is where we are the last 2 or 3 election cycles.
Yeah.
That we're more and more polarized, or more and more divided, and that the candidates that keep popping up are just the same the same candidates over and over again.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think what my heart is personally to have principles to guide me, and maybe talking about them can help some people that are listening
For sure.
to have principles that can guide them. So we're just not leaning on the feelings. So
Yeah.
number 3 was vote as a citizen of heaven. Number 4 is pray for those in elected positions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pray for and be a part of if invited. If we get invited into multiple rooms, leading a large church and with all the community benefit we do, and people have opinions, if we're invited by the wrong party or the wrong candidate, like how could you be in that room? Well, last time I checked, we were called to be the light of the world.
Right.
A city on a hill. Like you don't put a lamp under a bowl. So why would we keep our light out of politics? Like, should we be spearheading it? Do I think that we should be overly political? Absolutely not. But we should be a part of it. And I'm going to go wherever I'm invited.
Yeah.
If Trump wins and invites me to a prayer meeting, then I'm going to go because I get to sit with the president and maybe somehow influence. If Harris wins and I'm invited to a prayer meeting, I'm going to go. And me going there does not say that I vote for or support either one of them. It says that I would like to be in places of influence to bring a light into what I think politically, our political climate is a dark world. I mean, it is divided, it's lost, it's chaotic, it's toxic. So I think we're called to be a part of it if invited in, and that's not a political statement. That's a people statement and a purpose statement that we're trying to be a light in every area of the world.
Yeah. Personally, we live in such a world that loves to poke, expose, and throw people down in the dirt. And personally, I have to remind myself to pray for people because I can't be mad at people that I'm praying for. Like, it's really hard to hate people that I'm praying for.
Right.
So I think that might be even the most important one on the list here. But I need to pray for.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, you and I off camera have clear political opinions, but I don't want to force those on people. But I do think the platforms are important. But also, we can't just always be attacking the other side. We actually have to attack our own side. And what I mean by that is we have to poke holes in our platforms and our policies as well. Let me give you an example. Christians were up in arms because the DNC was giving away free abortions and free vasectomies.
Yeah.
And that's awful.
Awful.
That's like the fall of Rome awful. Like we are literally celebrating like taking of innocent lives, and we're giving away a free and we're promoting it. Like that is awful. If you are for a platform that's promoting that, again, we're not talking about, and we'll maybe talk a different episode, people that have gone through trauma. I'm not even making a political or a Christian statement on where that line is, but promoting it as a sales tactic is
celebrating it is crossing the line.
Celebrating it is crossing the line. Where you stand on it, we should probably have a one-on-one conversation because I don't have opinions for things that I've not walked through personally. So I'd love to understand somebody's story before I told them.
Yep.
Obviously, I believe in protecting life. I am very much pro-life, but I believe that there are situations that we need to walk through hand in hand with empathy with people. However, I'd also like to poke holes at the other side because all the people that were mad about that, the main takeaway from the RNC was mass deportation.
Right.
And we can have a great conversation about borders and about safety, but our platform can't be that we're just going to mass deport millions of people when we allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
So we get like, you're wrong. That's crazy. Like, you're not for life. And then we're over here saying, get rid of everybody that doesn't look like me, think like me, got here like me. And so like we have to find a place where we can poke holes and pray for both sides.
Right.
Because there's flaws in both. If you're listening today or watching today and you're like, my political party's got it all right, like you are living in a different time.
Right.
Both platforms have huge holes. And that's why I would say go dig in and find out. I don't know. I'm going to cut this, but it's just kind of the lesser of the two evils at this point. Like, which one does more damage to me personally?
Yeah.
To my life, and then which one does more damage to the cause of Christ, and then we vote for the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah, and honestly, I would suggest if it's a two-party system and it has a lot of flaws, And if you're just not feeling peace with yourself on either candidate, just go and write somebody in. Like, seriously, that's part of the system too. Just
for sure.
Don't not do something.
Don't not do something. And if you're charged up even by this episode or by this season, what are you doing to make a difference in your community?
Yeah.
Why are you not running for a local commissioner or a mayor or a school board or supporting a campaign?
Yeah.
Like if you're there today and you're so angry, you can't just be watching CNN or Fox News, depending on which political party you like to get the propaganda from. You need to go out and be a part of a campaign or be a part of a community outreach. Like, if you're this passionate about saving our country as you are on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, what are you doing Monday through Friday to actually make this place better?
Yeah. Side note, fun facts. In high school, I was hired by a local city commissioner to pick up election signs. That was a job of mine. Yeah.
To pick up his opponent's election signs?
No.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there is.
Okay. Because that'd be funny if he was hiring people to go steal
17-year-old Tyler had no idea. You want to pick up signs for $10 an hour? Yeah, cool. Here we go. Yeah.
Have you seen the reel of the guy that put basically he was electrocuting? He basically powered his signs, and so when people come try and steal them, they get electrocuted. That's awesome.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. We actually picked up probably 150 or so, maybe more signs, and put them in a friend of ours' yard. So he had like 200 political signs in his parents' yard.
We've had a friend recently that somebody put a magnet of the candidate that he's clearly not voting for on the back of his truck without him knowing, and he drove around for like a week.
That's good.
That's
awesome.
Good
move. It's a good move. So in closing, here's the 4 filters. I have a duty to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Yeah.
Look at the whole candidate.
Yep.
Vote as a citizen of heaven, and pray for those in elected positions. I think if we can put that into practice, we're going to find ourselves in a pretty good spot here in a couple months.
Yep. I think I would just put vote on policy and then be committed to participating in the solution and praying after. Like, regardless of what happens in November, God's not surprised and God's not worried.
Yeah.
And God's still on the throne. And so as Christians, I think we have a responsibility to vote, to participate, but our faith, our hope, our peace does not come from this world. Like, we are living for eternity, called to make a difference now, but be a part of it and be a part of the solution. But don't let this thing overwhelm you or engulf your whole calling is to save America. That's it. Our whole calling is to save people. And I believe that America being free and America being what it is gives us the best opportunity. I'm pro-American because I was born here. And I love our country, but I'm also pro-America because I believe when America's strong and free, it gives us the best chance to preach the gospel around the world.
Yeah. Great place to close. Thanks for joining us back at season 3, episode 1. As we do every episode, 5 stars. If you liked it, share it, review it, follow.
Yep.
All of those
all
things.
All the above.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you next episode.
Man, thank you so much for watching or listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, share. We'd love to hear what you think about the podcast, and follow us on Say It Different Podcast. Not .com, just Say It Different Podcast. I'm old. Hopefully you got the point.